All right, thank you very, very much for staying with us here on the show. Today, we're bringing you a conversation, that borders around men because we're celebrating International Men's Day. Did you even know that today was International Men's Day? Well, that's another conversation for another day. But I've got three strong gentlemen with me here in the studio. Scoffrey Nanayao Yeboah is a transformational coach, and he's also the president of the ICF Ghana chapter. And, Beremo Sayasari is an alumnus of multimedia, and so he's a fitness and health and behavioral coach as well. And Seth Asafo is a psychologist. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah,
for having me.
And we remember we started off this conversation last week looking at various dimensions of men, our psychology, and some of the things that society take for granted when it comes to men, their health, and all of it. Today, we're zeroing in on the issue of abuse and abuse against men and what it does in terms of, effect and, the resultant effects and all of that on men and the ripple effects as well on the immediate spaces around them. So the gentlemen are going to help me out with their thoughts here, their professional thoughts. And you can also join me with your thoughts. There are some of you who have had personal experiences. There are those of you who've also, seen it at very close range. You send in a message and look at society, the way society is built, and whether or not it is encouraging society to look at this aspect of men and their health, especially when it comes to the psychological element and how abuse is being, perpetuated towards men on a daily basis. So we had already started the conversation of a gentleman. Practical example, and that is, the narrative, or that's the, the everyday response that you do not touch a woman. Well, you do not touch a woman, it's true, but do you touch a man? Big question indeed. Seth, let me begin with you. This is regular. It's something we see on a daily basis. It's, you're a man, so you just take it easy and,
So, it's an interesting thing. And I always say, these are things that we have learned unconsciously. I mean, we learn consciously and unconsciously, and it is not out of place, in a sense. Now, see, for this year, it's a positive role models. And this conversation we're having about men and our emotional health and all of that, partly is societal, but partly is also individual, which is the way that we men respond to many of the things that happen around us. I mean, society's conditioned us in a way where you can't show any sign of weakness. But showing the signs of weakness is not weakness. And it's the drive that we're trying to push now to make people recognize that once you have a heart, you have blood running through your veins, you're as human as anybody else, whether male, female, or a mixture of both. And so in as much as this seems real, it's something that we have inherited, because that's what it's been, that's what we've observed, that's what we know from years past. I'm happy to say the narrative is changing. I mean, from where I sit as a psychologist, it is changing because I have a load of men who come to me for therapy. And in the past, we know that that was very uncommon. So I know the narrative is changing, except this is quite physical. So you're seeing a lot of physical abuse. But typically, men don't go through a lot of physical abuse. It's emotional abuse they go through. So this might not actually, depict the reality. Now, how do we normally respond to this? Boys meet. We talk about our family problems. And then when we are done, we equalize. Charlie, your own good, oh.
Yeah.
Me safe. That's what usually happens. We're going through it, and we're finding a way to, as it were, cope with it by talking. But they also...
And most of the time, sweep it under the carpet.
Absolutely. And it's the biggest problem with males. It's why we have many of these challenges. Like, especially, the biggest challenge why mental health and emotional health became a key thing to talk about was because of the rate of suicides. So in men, suicides are less reported because they complete it. They will finish it. They use more lethal methods as compared to female counterparts. That's what sites show people, well, men are actually going through a lot. Because they are not trying to do half and half. It's not attention seeking. It's just saying, look, I can't do this anymore, and I'm gone.
Berma, I see you have this this look on your face.
Yes, so you see...
What's running through your mind? Tell me.
A lot, but like my co-panelist said, it's more physical in that video. But when it comes to being abused, it's doing stuff the improper way. So it could be how you
Can
said
you
hello.
give us some examples so
Like,
people can understand better?
So the way you say good morning,
Yeah.
it can be an abuse. Good morning. Good morning. It's an abuse. You did it the improper way. It wasn't done the right way. Even the way you give hugs. Giving a hug is an action. People hug you like they hate you, but they will still hug you because it's mandatory for them to do. It's an abuse. That's why a lot of people overlook. The way the people even serve you, like even serving food to your partner, you can present it in a nice way, a proper way, or an improper way. The way you present food to your husband, the way you welcome them when they come back from work, the way you say goodbye to them before they go to work. So most people come to the workplace and they are angry. So they take it off their subordinates. And it's a ripple effect on the society. So things to be done the proper way. Men are abused in diverse ways. Like, and you telling your mom or even your pastor that, oh, my wife is abusing me, like, your wife is abusing you. Like, look at me, like, you're such built and your wife is abusing. They think they're physical. But emotional, and then it causes depression, anxiety. That's why the expectancy rate of men is 76, and then that of women is 81. Because most men die before women die. Because they keep sucking it in. Because you're a man. They say the lion and the lioness can never boast of equal strength. But strength is subjective. So I think society should do a better way. And then there should be systems in place for men to report. Not as in report, but seek help. There should be support systems for men. Because I was looking around and researching, and there was not even budget for men who are victimized. 1 out of 4 men are a victim of abuse, compared to 1 out of 7.
We don't even have institutions that are specialized towards men and their issues.
No budget for
in our security services and the police.
Like we're not human beings. Like we don't exist. We are man, so we just like rock solid hard. We should just suck it in and like let's sweep it under the carpet and just go on our business. But it's foreign.
Well, if you just joined us, we're having this conversation about abuse towards men and you know how it sits within the bigger picture of society. And Seth Asafo is a psychologist. Berima also as a fitness and wellness coach, and also Scoffrey Nanayawa. He was here last week joining us to help us to have bigger perspective and better understanding of some of the issues that we raised last week. Now, Scoffrey, there is the bit of reciprocal abuse and non-reciprocal abuse. And you do realize that men mostly suffer the non-reciprocal abuse. Am I right?
Of course.
Okay, so are we downplaying the level or the frequency with which this is happening in our society? Because from all these accounts, you realize that a lot is being swept under the carpet.
I'll tell you, somewhere in September, one of the legs of things I do, I'm into healing of memories.
Okay.
I'm a practitioner. And this year was the first time we did for the young people. After that training, it took me a week to overcome what we had experienced at the workshop. It has never happened to me before.
A whole week?
Yes, it took me a week.
What did you experience?
It has never happened to me in any of the workshops when we do adult and everything. Because the glory of pain young boys are going through, incredible, underreported. There is no space for them to pour so we could experience their experiences. That is how come Healing of Memories was designed in South Africa to support humanity in that phase. 2, you rightly put it that by virtue of Oba, Bema, Moba, that cliche, it is a universal language. It's universal that a man hates not or you don't fight back when you were engaged in violence.
And the video was apt in bringing us the evidence.
Exactly. We don't do that. That is how come 70% of non-reciprocal abuse, we are the victims. Now, because we sort of downplay that because it's not physical, so it is not abuse. Interestingly, if you look at even courts in US and Europe, they have passed judgment that emanated from emotional abuse. And Emotional abuse don't only go to sit just like that. The psychologist will tell you there's something we call psychogenic pains. Emotion can block on your shoulder something we have not paid attention to, and you begin to have shoulder pains. No medicine, painkiller will cure that until you see a therapist or you speak to somebody with the insight of how to get emotions evenly distributed in your body. That is the depth. You know, Asafu, you said that it was suicide that drew the alarm. There is another school of thought that men were venting what they could not vent on their direct spouses to other people. It was just like the case of the American when they decided to give freedom to blacks, not because of anything, that whites started killing themselves because of black people, what they were going through. So it is the impacts that when they noticed something else was happening beyond suicide, they said, no. So it was not even in the interest of men that they began advocating for the mental well-being of men. It was because of the excesses affecting the other gender. So the issue of whether physical or emotional or psychological, we are more at the receiving end. Then, like I said the last time, society have crafted us as the value placed on men is non-existent. Value placed on men is non-existent. The relevance we occupy in human community is non-existent. That is how come it is sheer responsibility that we say you are a man. Not because you are even a being. It's sheer responsibility. Observe how appreciation comes on Father's Day. It's the only day that we want to qualify it. We qualify responsible fathers. On this day, responsible men. It is just, thank God for neuro-linguistic programming, that whatever is in our body is as we speak it. So because we've partitioned the quality and value men are, we always want to partition and reduce their relevance of men. If you want to heal domestic violence, just begin to pay attention to concerns of men. And like we said last week, a lot of men will prefer keeping quiet, let it bottle down, or vent it on substance user disorders, any form of substance that will give him. I think there was a time in September I said that even men, if you pick 10 men, perhaps it's only one man who has really experienced orgasm. It's only one man who has really experienced, because even in sex life, we've made it automatic and mechanistic. So we are not able to go into our vulnerable self.
It's interesting you've mentioned the element of sex. Is there an effect of all of this on your ability to respond to a woman as against a regular day?
Of course. Go ahead.
So, I mean, if you look at the human sex response, it starts from one place, which is arousal, the main act, and then when you are done. Now,
So I want us to focus on arousal specific.
so you see, arousal is largely a thing of the mind.
Exactly.
Now, there are what we call arousal non-concordant, which is the biological aspect.
Yeah.
So essentially, you can get aroused because a particular organ is being stroked or touched. So yes, you will get aroused because that says that the body is working. Now, but to have holistic arousal, the mind must be there. And it's the same way like we use for men who have like erectile dysfunction and then premature ejaculation is in the act, you get them to dissociate from the act. So then because they are not in there, the intense feeling is not as much as before. Now this is the reality, and I paint this picture. Any kind of abuse registers on the brain as danger, just like any kind of stress. So whether it's traffic stress or whether it's money stress, or it registers on the brain as danger. So now you picture danger as someone pointing a gun to your head, and tell me realistically if you are able to have an erection and perform with a gun to your head. So that's what's happening in the background. So when things like this are happening, the danger signal that's created makes it difficult for the body to respond or perform as it normally does. Now, he mentioned something about psychogenic pain or psychogenic condition. So this is what happens. Whenever you are in any kind of danger, your body says danger, but it thinks it's physical. but most of them are mental. The worry of, I cannot meet the demand, I'm not respected enough, I'm not appreciated. But the body still responds to it physically. So your heart starts to beat, you're breathing in much more than usual, your immune system is taking a hit. Now, as all these things happen, what they primarily do is that they need an escape. So when you're not getting the escape, then that survival system, which is made to, work for a couple of minutes, because, in normal time, it comes from a place of evolution. Lion is at your heel. 5 minutes, you dodge the lion, or the lion finishes you. But this time, you have that system working for months to years. And it's unsettling so many other things. So the stat about why life expectancy for men is 76 and for women is 81 is because most men don't have an opportunity to express. And I always give this physical thing. Imagine what happens when you bang a door on your finger. What's the first thing you do?
React.
You scream.
Yeah, ouch.
And it is part of the normal human architecture to express. Unfortunately, men can't express. Well, not that they can't express, but society does not allow them to express. And as they keep these things in, it becomes a resultant tension. So the first thing that happens in any kind of danger is your heart starts to beat. It's beating to pump blood into your major muscles to allow you to stand and fight or run away. That's all it is. In this case, you are not running or you are not fighting. So it's kept there and your heart rate is just... So cardiovascular disorders becomes a huge challenge for baby men. And they struggle as a result of that because they are not able to express. And even when they do express, they are judged. Yeah. So you have a secondary stress created, which is in the background you don't know about. So that survival system is working forever. That is the crust of the issue.
So clearly there's a massive effect, that this is having, with time. Now, Scoffrey, you have mentioned that the paradigm is shifting. We'll come to that so that you let us know what exactly it is and what the statistics are looking like and what society, especially in this side of the world, what we're doing as a collective to change this narrative. But let's remain more on this subject and the practical examples. Now, Nana, you are in an area which focuses on, wellness, the mind, the general outlook, your grooming, all of that, your physical health and all of that. Tell me about the effects of this silent abuse that goes on and all of that, and how it affects, your work and men and their progress within the area of wellness and well-being and all of that.
Okay, so for example, a typical one is when most men get married, they put on weight. Most men. Yeah. Especially in the midsection. Because most women unconsciously abuse them to eat more than they're supposed to. When I cook, you don't eat it. Finish the plate. That's abusive because it's the improper way of eating. It's either you underfeed men or you overfeed them. Underfeeding is abuse, overfeeding is abuse. You make sure it's at an equilibrium. So if the man can eat maybe 20 kilograms of rice or ounces, the wife is like, when I cook, if you don't eat it, you don't love me, so you're supposed to finish the plate. That's stressful. So the man will finish the plate after a month.
Irrespective of the time of the day?
No, you need to. So sometimes when a man closes up, like you had a long meeting, you ended at 8:30, and you come home and you're like, I cannot eat because it's late. Your wife is like, oh, you went to see that girlfriend. Or why will you go eat at the restaurant? I'm your wife, I'm supposed to cook for you. You must eat my food at top. So as a man who loves the wife, he's like, okay, you know what? To make peace or bring peace at home, I'm going to consume this food. They sit and they finish that plate. Once they're done eating, they go to sleep. When you sleep, your digestive system is shut. There's no digestion. All that food is stored as fat, especially in your midsection. The next day, you have breakfast. If you don't eat breakfast, you go into work without eating my food. You're like, I had a lot of food. Like, no, you need to eat my food before you go to that girlfriend. Eat. That's abuse. Anything you do that's improper. So that's why a lot of men, after they marry, you see their midsection bloating because they're, and sometimes wives think when your man looks good, especially they look heavy, they be like, oh, you take good care of him. That's a misconception. Oh, because when you get lean after marriage, your wife is not feeding you well. So then wives are like, okay, you must eat my food so that I'm not bashed by people that I'm not taking good care of you. So in the physical aspect and fitness aspect, lots of men put on weight because of that. One, they are stressed. Two, they are overeating. Some men won't even go home after work because they'll be like, I'm going to meet the lioness at home. It affects their physique. And they don't even have time to work out because if your wife is not ready for you to work out with her, she'll be like, don't go to the gym. Because when you go to the gym, you see all these nice looking ladies at the gym, and then you tempt it. If your wife wants to go with you, then you ask them, okay, can you go with me so we work out together? So you're there, you don't know I'm cheating or anything like that. They'll be like, I don't want to go, but I won't let you go. Stop you from working out. So that's some of the aspects that affect people's fitness, especially men.
Interesting stuff there. So clearly, women are also doing a couple of things that that are abusive towards men, and they don't realize it from what Berima is telling us.
If you look at what we've said about even intimate partnership violence, that is not non-reciprocal. It's more women who perpetrate it. A lot of women don't know that verbal in itself can be abusive. Those who also know use it very well. And it starts rather on our side at a tender age, sadly. Because statistics are proving that women violate children 53% than men violate children. Women neglect children. 2 kids, a woman will separate his or her love between the 2 kids than a guy would do, than the husband would do that among the 2 kids. So this is where it all starts from. And a lot of this is also as a result of lack of knowledge, lack of insight. If you've noticed, it is easy to speak about the excesses of violence that concerns men or perpetrated by men. But it's very difficult to speak about the excess of violence, abuse that centers around women being perpetrators. So all this is like a cover-up of layers. So it goes from our evolutionary sense that we don't speak about the ills of women. That is where it is coming from. If we can begin to speak, even men, and some men of God are guilty of that. Like I said, currently in the US or in Europe, if a woman hits you and you defend yourself physically and police arrive, guess who they arrest first?
The man.
The man. The assumption that even she hitting you, she did that in self-defense. And Johnny Depp and Amber Heard is a classic example.
You know, the other day I was just taking my time. I haven't finished watching it on Netflix.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
Recent.
Benjamin Mendy. He is so lucky. He is so lucky.
So I'm just giving.
And now we can talk about it. Our very own Thomas Partey, so lucky.
So lucky. Why should you say it's lucky? Why should we say he's even lucky?
I'm saying he's lucky in the sense that
it's rhetorical. Don't mind.
He jumped out of what was being created. That web that's being created for players of African descent out there who regularly would not have a voice to speak for them because he was clearly innocent. Mendy clearly was innocent as well, but then there's a system that is already working against you by virtue of your being African and by virtue of your being a man.
So that is what I'm saying. So these are the kind of societal operation that reinforces the fact that the man is not cared for.
Not at all.
Nathaniel, when I got to know that you are so influential to the point that even in the womb, it is your genes that develop the placenta. Your genes is what develop the placenta in the womb. It is out of that same space that a stem cell is developed to support the cardiovascular strength of the woman carrying the baby. It comes from your genes. But we don't know this value we are, as if it ends the day the thing go PM, it ends there. And the stream that a lot of the time, this sympathetic pregnancy, we take it up, but we don't see that we also get pregnant when our wives are. Lack of knowledge. What they will call the covert syndrome. Me, that was what happened to me. My wife got pregnant 2 occasions. She never had pregnancy sickness. Nathaniel, I went through it all. That was when I began researching about pregnancy and its influence on men. So if we can come to this insight and knowledge, then you are not only abusing the man verbally. Guess what? We are emotional beings before we can think. Our makeup, your subconscious is an emotional faculty of you. If emotions can create peptic ulcer, emotions, because we bottle everything down, then it goes into the intestine, can create peptic ulcer. Guess what it does to prostate cancer?
Worse. Well, a very interesting point Scoffery has landed on here. I trust you are, following the conversations. You can join us with your thoughts. We'll be sharing the platforms with you very shortly. We're discussing, abuse against men on International Men's Day, and so many varied thoughts are coming from the professionals here with me in the studio. A round of messages after that. We'll bring you a second video as well, and then we'll build up the conversation from there. You stay with us here on Prime Morning. It's interesting, I've emceed an uncountable number of weddings over the period, and I'm trying to throw back to some of the days where you had parents give advice, and maybe persons who are seen as mentors come and give messages of goodwill. And you're throwing back and you're realizing that most of them go to say, hey, when she says, just keep quiet. When she is going on and on, just pretend like you haven't heard. Because so you will never win. Men never win arguments. Yeah. And that's also a root cause of it. Similar to what we're seeing here.
I don't think it's about, it's not literal. Psychologically, because of the logical nature of men, it's easier to understand the formula as compared to the feeling of it. And that's the difference. So like I tell people, like when people say things like this, they're giving you classified information, in depth, and saying, you know what, it's just a phase. Sometimes you have to allow for the emotions to pass. So there's a common thing people put on like social media about how, your partner, female, comes to you and then they're telling you something happened. Now, our logical selves means we're always problem solving. So you quickly, but why don't you do A, B, C, D? Well, truthfully, that's not what she's wanting to hear at the time. She's just wanting to say, oh, wow, this is difficult, and let the emotion pass, and then the logic comes in. Now, emotions and logic don't work together. So whenever someone is emotional and you're trying to push logic, it doesn't make sense. You have to allow the emotion to pass before the logic works. Now, you see, in men, we can have a fight, and the very next minute, we are eating together. Because the logic is, what's done is done. But when I'm feeling something, my body and my mind reacts to it as if it were real. And it is depicted from, like, you see when you watch movies, you can watch a horror movie and feel the emotion of fear. I mean, logically, the monster won't come out to the screen. But emotionally, you're reacting because that's the way the brain has created the picture. It's like, it's there. And that's how usually females feel the things that happen around them. So when I do couples therapy, I tell people, like, don't react to the situation when it's happening. Sometimes just allow some small air to pass and then come back and try and deal with it logically. So the way I want to contextualize abuse from the way we understand it. Abuse is an action, a behavior meant to gain control over another. That's what abuse usually is. So whatever I'm doing has the intention to gain some power over the person I'm doing, like I'm performing the abuse on, so that I may feel powerful. That's the reality of abuse. And so, yes, a lot of things happen, and let's situate it within, in some context, it's not an abuse. It is just people being reactive. But the essence of abuse is, it's like I'm priming the person so that they succumb to a certain thing. Now, in this video we watch, the interesting thing about the video is, whenever they say something like, you're being toxic, you're being narcissistic, the next person is trying to defend, like, why would you say something like that? But it's only because I know if I push those labels on you, you're likely to leave me. That's the reality. The reality is you won't bother me about that partner again. And that is what you might consider as the abuse. So you let me go. And many people engage in abusive and manipulative behaviors to get their way.
Now, so we see this happening over and over again, and it looks like the other problem is us, the men, because we're not putting up behavior to change the narrative. We're not availing ourselves to the realities, that is, if we want to make things change. We just accept things the way they are, and we always move on. And this is something that has existed from time immemorial. How do we get out of this? How do we get out of that space? Because it's something that goes all the way from, all the way from childhood, and it comes all the way up.
Well, I'm glad that today last week and today, Joy Prime took the bold step to want to discuss issues of men, and even today handle abuse of men. It is not a common thing that happens. So it is one of the ways that we need to put such discussion at the forefront. Because even if not for the sake of men being that important, it's for the sake of humanity. There is something we call intergenerational trauma. That which he's not talking about, that which he's keeping quiet over. At the end of the day, in the night, the two of you do the hanky-panky and you get pregnant. Do you know that in the DNA, there's a part of it called the phenotype? That which he did not share to heal from passes on to the child. So it is not even us alone that we are harming. It is the other generation out of us. So if that can be a premium, then you don't only look at the future. That's what we call the present future or the future present. You look at the future and want to do something about the situation now. And that is what, one, we are having to discuss. Two, I think we've gotten to the dispensation where there are few psychologists doing public advocacy. And I want to appeal to them to step to the fore, to be involved in public advocacy. Because it has opened the space up for a lot of discussion centered on myth, even from the pulpit. Because that is not their jurisprudence of expertise, they say things as though, oh, that is the fact, that is the scientific matter, because they don't know. And how dare you correct somebody's premium pastor? You lie bad, for example.
That is another conversation for another day.
All right. So for me, that is one reason why I have done a lot of women advocacy. And when I graduated from the Healing of Memories Institute 2017, I said, it's about time I do something for men. That is how come I've become a voice, speaking for young boys, speaking for men. Not only that, if you come to my coaching sessions, look, there are questions I'll put to you that it supports rewriting of your neurology, because questions can go deep into your neurology and help some things to rearrange, especially your phenotype. It helps. I'll ask you questions centering on your pelvic intelligence. I'll ask you, when was the last time you reached orgasm? Such a question I will ask you. Because desire, drive, is the same thing that the chemistry of sex that is the same thing that works with your life. Your desire and drive does not really sit here. It sits there. Why is it that when you call the man a 1 minute man, it shuts him off? What really shuts off is the okra that shuts off first, before even the brain registers it. So that is how come when you look at what we do in multiple brain integration techniques, we know your head is a brain, your heart is a brain, your gut is a brain, your autonomic nervous system is an intelligence, your pelvic, that is how come the early doctors call it the cerebrum pelvicum. It's not by accident. And if you look at the literature, it will blow your mind. So let us begin to engage as boys. Talk. Don't end it there. End up at the doorsteps of the professionals. Speak to a professional. Speak to a professional counselor, a therapist, a clinician, a coach. Because that is where you can find safe space. As I wrap up, your vagus nerve is the center of your safety and threat. It was not put there for nothing. So if you have a nerve that is in charge of safety and threat, then it means that safety requires you setting it up so that I can feel comfortable to be around you. Let's get that sensitive to begin to listen that the antennas is in there. We don't even have to think it. It is there working in your subconscious, in your sub part of the body. So if we can get some of this insight and knowledge, it supports us men.
Amazing stuff. Now, so clearly men are suffering loads and loads of health, problems and health deficiencies as a result of abuse. Now, we want to start looking at the remedies and how we should start clearing these things and start, And I believe that the other side, which is the women as well, need to have a certain level of education about, or need to make more time to try to understand. They say, is this cliched thing that they say, you don't understand a woman, you don't try to understand a woman. But can you understand a man?
So what I would say is that men need to start putting themselves first.
Okay.
Because we always give excuses that we're doing this for the home, for the peace,
For the
at
family.
home, for the family, for the kids. But how will the kids be catered for if you're not here? Because if you don't put yourself first, you have a glass of water, right? A lot of people will see it as half empty instead of saying half full. So you keep pouring onto people. It's the kids, you pour into them. The wife, you pour into them. Oh, I'm supposed to look out for my subordinates. You pour family, extended family. You pour to them, but at the end of the day, nobody's pouring to you.
That's very true.
So you need to take care of yourself, because the only person that cannot leave you is yourself. Take care of your body, like take care of your heart, your internal organs. Because the only time you declare that is when your heart stops pumping blood or it stops beating. So the first thing I tell most of my friends, my colleagues, is that take care of this heart. Do a physical activity during the week. Because amidst all this depression and stress, when you work out, your heart will beat better and you'll be okay. At least there's recommended 30 minutes a week. You can split it, even if it's 5 minutes in the morning, or even you do 2 minutes aerobic exercise before you take a shower, 2 in the evening. It keeps your heart healthy, and then when you are healthy, you can create wealth, because health is wealth. Most people do the reverse. They look for the wealth, and they later use the wealth to take care of the health. But you need to, people are like, oh, I cannot work out because of my work. But when you're sick right now, your work won't go. You can't make money to take care of the family.
And
So-
the system moves on without you.
It moves on. So you put yourself first. When you look at the self-actualization, yourself is number one. Without you, and you looking out for yourself, loving yourself, because like Mr. Safo was saying, if you love yourself and someone tells you something negative, you block it. Because you know yourself so well that you love yourself that if they tell you you're good for nothing, you'll be like, that's not true. I know myself better. I'm better than what you're telling me. So if men put ourselves first, look out for ourselves, it will be a ripple effect. Now all men will, if you look out for me, I look out for each other, then we have a support system. We don't always have to talk about football or something men like. Sometimes we talk about relationships, health. How are you doing? How is wife? You ask the kids. You know, put ourselves
You
first.
know, I'm laughing. A lot of men, when they want to do anything for themselves, there is this societal growth of guilt that, hey, hey. So there is always a certain programming that pricks you in guilt that you leave yourself out.
You
So I
haven't
agree to
sorted the
what you're
fees.
saying.
You haven't sorted the fees out yet.
I get it. But sometimes you need to put you first, because if you don't put yourself first, you're no longer there, then what happens? The system shatters.
Wow, interesting stuff there. So we're moving on, and in our final comments, I'd want all of us to start looking at solutions, and how practical it is to realize that maybe it could be in the next decade. I mean, I would want to see a lifetime where these trends change.
I mean, for me, solutions, I am totally aligned with the theme for this year, which is positive role models.
Yeah.
Now, he talked about generational traumas. Where do they stem from? They stem from the things that happened to our parents, which they translated as norms. So they're not doing it because they mean ill, but that's what they know. Now, if we are going to change this, it will start from our individual homes. Because you can't be advocating and telling people, and then your own family doesn't seem to feel what you are talking about. So for me, the positive role modeling is one thing. Now, and I'm going to highlight one very specific thing. You see, all through the history of humanity is that women take care of what? Children. So that nurturing has always been seen as a female trait. But what most people don't recognize is the act of nurturing in itself secretes oxytocin, the happiness hormone, the bonding hormone. So if mommy is getting dozens and dozens of it, which of course is also boosting her immune system and settling her mood. And we are taking the other side of the man must go and come. Well, if you're not nurturing, you may never feel the benefits. I have a 5-year-old. I play with him all the time. And I look forward to it because I see the benefits of what it does for me. I'm telling every man today, when they say doing those things makes you look feminine, there's nothing wrong with being feminine. There is strength in weakness. In fact, without knowing your weakness, you'll never be strong. If you go to a battle and you know where you are weakest, by protecting that, you get strong. So it starts from the home.
Great stuff there. Final thoughts with you in the next
It's just to
45
add to, just
seconds.
add to what Mr. Safo has mentioned, that one, nurturing is not the designated for femininity. We all have it. Every man, you both have estrogen and testosterone. It's just that one is more than the other. So you have it in there too. Cultivate the right space of friendship. It's this oxytocin he mentioned, even cuddling your dog, cuddling your cat, it all will give you that. But when you co-create with a human being, it is more, it is better. Two, there is a group on Facebook called Tell It Dad. It's an amazing support platform for men. So begin to belong to spaces where you can find support and even speak your mind. Get them cajole you small, but there could be a support that comes through for you. Three, going for therapy and professional support is not weakness. There's a label and tag around that we need to work towards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Brema.
Yeah, so what I'll finally add to what my co-panelists have said is that, you spoke about therapy is in our system is kind of expensive. It is. That's why when people have issues in their homes, they run to their parents or their pastors. But like you said, they are not trained to do that. Because if you run to your mother will be like, when your dad did to me, this is what I ABCD. So now it becomes a cycle. So they will tell you that, you also tell your children, and it keeps going on. So, man, if you can offer like cheaper services for people to attend, I'm not saying bring them down, but that will help. And then support systems too. And then we also recommend that governments put inside systems. Even with the police service, like you said, there's no department for men, so they should do some stuff for men, yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. And this has been Prime Morning. I trust you enjoyed the conversation. Excerpts of this will be on our Facebook wall, so you could get part of this. We are going to be continuing some more of these conversations, but happy International Men's Day to all of them. And of course, Seth Asafo, thank you so much. Brema, thank you so much. And Nana, thank you so much. That's it for today. Thanks to the whole production team. We'll be back tomorrow to bring you another Prime Morning. My name is Nathaniel Atom. Have a wonderful day.